Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Behind the Scenes with Your Teen. We have an interesting topic for you today because it is Self-Esteem Awareness Month, which I was not aware of. So we need some awareness about this. We're bringing the awareness to you. And we want to talk a little bit today about how we do or don't, what we do that, impacts our kids' self-esteem. What are we doing that's helpful? Maybe what are some things that we shouldn't be doing? Um, and I just have a couple thoughts about it I'm going to share, and then I'm going to kick it over to Jessica because she has a very interesting perspective on this. But my thought is I kind of think self-esteem and self-confidence are very, closely related. And it comes for my kids, it's less important what I say to them. Like me, it's less important if I say, I know you can do this, or you got this, you can handle it. It is important to say those things, but it's actually more important what my actions are and what I'm doing to show them that I really do believe that. So if I say, yeah, you're very independent, I know you can handle this, but then I spend a lot of time explaining to them how to get from one place to another when they're driving independently, I've totally undercut my own message. So I have to work on this. This is something I identified. I need to do a better job of stepping back and really saying, yes, they really can handle this. And they will feel so much more self-esteem and self-confidence when they can see that I know that they can do it. And if they don't do it perfectly, that's fine. That's how you have to learn. It's so hard for us not to jump in and be like, oh, no, you did that the whole wrong way. Let me tell you the better way to do it. They'll figure it out. For the most part, they do end up figuring it out. And I think that has such a much bigger impact on their self-esteem than any words I could tell them. So that's my perspective to start this off. But I really wanted to kick this over to Jessica because she's a lot closer in age to the kids that we're all raising. And she told us something that I hadn't heard before, and I think you're going to find it very interesting. Jessica, please take the floor.
Yeah, so I'm terminally online. I'm on social media a lot. It's just kind of, I like to do it, and I see plenty of the posts that kids these days are putting out there, and it's one of those. I've noticed a lot of kids will be just a lot of very negative self talk, a lot of very just like putting themselves down when they post, talking about how like stupid they are, like how like ugly they are, and like, and I mean, of course it gets especially worse when you see kids who are depressed online, and like it really feels like they've made being depressed online like a core part of their like online persona, and not in like a it's just kind of like this weird self-feeding cycle where they're just constantly like saying negative stuff about themselves. And I feel like it really affects their self-esteem. Like I have friends in real life who just are constantly putting themselves down, and just, it's just sad and frustrating. And I feel like that's one of those things you want to, if your kid is online, and if you have access to see it, just, checking in and seeing kind of how they're talking about themselves. And I don't know. It's sometimes I worry that the kids are not all right when they're online. So I don't know. That's just my perspective as a 27-year-old rando who hangs out on Twitter and Tumblr and all those spheres. And I think we're gonna pass it to Melissa next.
Yeah, thank you, Jess. I have two things to share. First, it wasn't too long ago that my kids were in high school, and I noticed the same thing where the kids were talking very negatively about themselves, self-deprecating. It wasn't even humor. It was just, it was brutal, actually, the way they were talking about themselves and about each other. And as soon as I heard about it, I wasn't gentle with my kids, telling them the people that are talking like this to you and to other people, they're not your friends. And, they said, oh, what everyone does it. But I'm like, are you going to be the one that keeps doing that? Or are you going to be the one that stops it and says it's not okay? So they had a decision to make. And I'm thankful that they happened to make the right decision. And yeah, so they didn't have as many friends after that. But, 3-4 years from now, or from that point, those kids would look back and be like, okay, yeah, someone said it was not right, and now I see it wasn't right. There's going to be a ripple effect, hopefully. So that's one thing. I'm sorry. I was so mad at the time when I found out this was happening. I was enraged. Oh my God, I was so mad. So when I talk about it now, I still have feelings. um, the other thing I did, which I think was really helpful, is that whenever my kids would tell me something that was going on, either at school or at work, I would ask, I would hear everything, and then I would ask, um, how are you going to handle this? And, if they wanted to practice, we would practice. And I would always say, do you want me to handle this, or do you think you want to give it a shot? And invariably, they would say they wanted to do it first, which is, it taught them how to kind of navigate the world on their own terms. And they knew I would be there to back them up, but they also found out they could handle it themselves. And I just think that's really important, to have confidence in them being able to take care of their own problems. So, yeah. I'm shooting it down to Kamira.
Thank you. Good morning. Self-esteem is a big deal in our place. I have sons, Black sons, and we are constantly battling society's attack on them as individuals and their self-esteem. So we're very vigilant about how this affects them. My strategy was to give them extra helpings of self-esteem. We're always boosting them up. You're good, you're great. You did a good job. When they did do a good job, we're not going to tell them they did a good job if they didn't, but when they did, even if you're not recognized, and there are reasons sometimes you're not recognized, and we try to go through the reasons, and we don't start with race, but we start with other stuff, and then we always end with, and it could just be race. We're not sure. As a result of that, I had lots of people, usually non-Black parents or parents not raising Black children, who would tell me, oh, they need to be more humble, or, you should probably talk to them about humility. And I'm like, nope, can't afford that. They need extra helpings because it's falling off every single day. We would do little things like, I have all of our ancestors. I have pictures of family. I'm the keeper of this in the family on the wall. And I have a memory of literally when something happened to one of my sons and it had nothing to do with him, bringing him to the wall and saying, you see these people? These people went through what they went through so that you could go through. They were great. You're great. How each one expresses their levels of self-esteem is different. I have one son who he knows he can do things, and he has all the confidence, and he doesn't say anything. He walks tall and he just goes through life. I have another one who's going to tell everybody that he's great at whatever it is, even if he hasn't tried it. We've had lots of conversations about how you want to present yourself, feeling it as opposed to expressing it. It's up to him to decide how he wants to do it. And there are other places that there are groups that do this for these young Black men. There are rites of passage groups. I have one son who's a graduate of Morehouse College. They are the kings of doing this at the school. Was from day one, the boys come in and young men come in, and they are told, you are wonderful. You have gotten here. And every single day that is reinforced. There is a joke. What can you tell a Morehouse man? How can you tell a Morehouse man? And the answer is, you can't tell a Morehouse man anything. They know everything. And that just sums it up. I'm going to send it up to Sue.
I love this group so much because I would not know Kamira's story if we weren't together at this moment talking about this topic. In my house, I didn't pay attention to self-esteem. I didn't wake up in the morning and say, how will I build self-esteem? Because I thought they're walking through life with being told they have it. So hearing how not everybody has that opportunity is humbling, and I'm so grateful you shared it. In my house, my kids taught me what they needed. I was not like, oh yeah, I knew how to do this. But one thing I learned from my kids was that when they called up or they came home with a story of injustice, I might hear it as wrong on their part. Like I might really hear this story. They come home with rage, and like the storytelling is and it's got so much energy and emotion to it. And I know that I am supposed to say, that sounds horrible. But when they were younger, I felt the need to point out that they might have been wrong. And it was such a conversation ender, and often the beginning of a fight, because that was not at all what was needed at the moment. And that's not to say that there wasn't a later time where we could sit down and discuss what happened. But even now, as my kids are older, I am so keenly aware of my job in this conversation. And that is to say, that really sucks. I'm so sorry. Whatever else is supportive of them. And sometimes my brain is going like, yeah, wow, you really don't see reality. But eventually at some point their passion settles down, and they might even come back and say, I'm going to try that differently next time. I'm not part of the solution. I can be part of the problem if I throw fuel onto the fire. And I think that has led to a much greater willingness to share with me situations that didn't go well. And it happens with bosses, it happens in friendship, it happens in romantic relationships. And the only thing you can do is say, like, that really sucks. Because pointing out their participation and where it went wrong has never worked for me. So I don't know if that's universal, but I can tell you, if you're looking for another way because the one you're doing right now doesn't work, that turned everything around for me. So short and sweet today. We love talking to you about this topic. We love that Kamira pays attention to every daily and monthly acknowledgement. I think like Popsicle Day, and we get an update every morning from Kamira. So thank you.
Donut Day is the only one I care about, Kamira. Can you hook me up? When is Donut Day? I want to make sure I don't miss that.
Oh, my kids know that. That's big in my family. Kamira, tell us who you're interviewing tomorrow.
Tomorrow we have journalist, parent educator, and author Catherine Lewis. She wrote the book, The Good News About Bad Behavior. So for all of us who are wondering about these behaviors that we have deemed bad, Catherine's going to tell us what is good about that tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time.
Oh my God, everybody has to watch that. Maybe it will alleviate some of our fear. Most of this is driven by fear, right? Like what's going to happen? Where's the consequences for this bad decision making? And now we're going to hear that there's some good news.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Thanks everybody for being here with us.
By the way, the good news is Donut Day is June 3rd. Jessica just told me. So make sure you mark it down. Thank you, Jessica.
Oh, it is actually around the corner. Just around the
right
corner.
around the corner. You don't want to miss it.
Yeah. Okay. Also, book club. So Jen, tell us about book club.
Oh, we have such a treat. If you know this author, you'll be excited. And if you don't know this author, you should, because she is a delight. Her name is Mary Laura Philpott. I usually have her book right here, but today I don't. It's called Bomb Shelter. Sue might have it handy, if not here. We actually have 5 copies of this book to give away because we're launching our first ever Your Teen book group for parents. And Mary Laura is a parent of teens. I think there may be still teens. I'm not sure if they've grown out of their teen years. She's right in our wheelhouse. And the memoir that she wrote is so beautiful. And it's about how she is simultaneously an anxiety-ridden parent and a hopeful parent. And there's so much to relate to in this book. And she writes it with humor and with verve. And you just want to be her best friend, really, after you read it. So I can't recommend it enough. I read her first book, I Miss You When I Blink, which was also a parenting memoir. And I feel like she is my best friend. I'm not sure she knows that, but she is. So we want you to get on board with this Your Teen book group. To help you do that, we're offering 5 giveaway books to read before we launch the book. And I have to look at my calendar. So I think we're doing this June 8th. Is that right? Yeah. Wednesday, June 8th at 8 p.m. Central, Eastern time, not Central, Eastern, Central time. And Eastern, 8 p.m. Eastern. And we want you to
also,
join us.
if you submit questions, you might get to ask her in person. Well, virtually in person.
Right. It'll be on Zoom. So we all know how Zoom works now. So you can come along and there's no charge. It's just a free, fun thing to do, to meet other cool people in the same space. So come along and join us.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.